Give them a round of applause, please. The St. Clair Dakin Secondary School was represented at our 10th National Garifuna Schools Folk Festival, which was held on the 7th of March, this Friday. At this festival, we saw performances from many young people from different schools in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. They interpreted the Garifuna culture as best as they could, doing beautiful dances, poetry, singing, choral speeches, and fashion displays. And therefore, this is only a small representation of this performance at the school's folk festival. So encourage them, give them a round of applause, please. You have the music. There were many, many, many more performances along those lines. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor to welcome you to this 12th opening ceremony of the 12th International Garifuna Conference. My name is Zoila Ellis Brown, and I am the Technical Director of the Garifuna Heritage Foundation. Honorable Minister of Education, Mr. Curtis King, all the representatives of the Embassy of Venezuela, other distinguished guests, visiting delegates, friends, children, good afternoon. We have to now give thanks, and to do the blessing will be the representative of the Urume Royal Delegation to lead us in the blessing as we start our session this afternoon. The Urume Royal Delegation
Evening, Mabugal, Seremi. Praises to the Most High, the Creator of the universe. Thanks most to our ancestors that by praise of God we are standing still. There's nothing we can do without the guidance of the Most High. Our Lord, in your hands we command all that is to take place on this work. Guide each and everyone who gathered here this morning, that the words that comes through them is from you. So all our wishes come true in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Long live the Caribs, warriors, Itarala. Aligudahina, Nubara Kato Funasara, Tinarubo Kato. Aligudahina, Nubara Kato Funasara, Tinarubo Katora, Ona Babana Urua. Agamba na mugabo magie ona babana mawe ona babana ibirua. Agamba na mugabo magie tibe sagie bisobudi tibe biara tumawe tibe sagie bisobudi tibe biara tumawe. Subudi tibugie Itarala. Blessings, blessings, blessings. United we stand, forward we go. So, also on the program, Nelsia?
No, I don't know. Please stand for the national anthem of Euromay, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, to be sung by the children of the Habinaha Language Workshop Program, led by Mrs. Linda Grant.
Good afternoon, everyone. Well, welcome everyone, our brothers and sisters from the diaspora, Minister of Education. As you can see, my brothers and sisters, we have the dance locked in St. Vincent, in Euromane. The language is coming, and we will get it. So, as you can see, the kids are very much interested in learning, so we need you here. These kids are product of the Habinaha Garinagu Dance Garifuna SVG 2023. And myself at this age, I never knew what Garifuna language was all about, never heard of it until James Lavelle and Eleanor Bullock. I have to tip my hats off to them. The children are willing to learn. They are willing to learn. And these are product of the workshop that we had in 2023. So I would say they are rendering the Garifuna, our Vincentian anthem in the Garifuna language. We have a long way to go, but you know, we can do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful. You may be seated, please. Those are the future of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. To welcome you, we have next the president of the Garifuna Heritage Foundation, our own Mr. David Darkey Williams, to bring a few remarks.
Good afternoon. So good to see so many of you here today. I will be brief, as I was told I have to make brief remarks. At the 9th edition of the International Garifuna Conference, I stood up at a podium just like this one and appealed to the world to become familiar with the work of the Foundation and other Garifuna organizations operating in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I said that with the view to having people becoming volunteers and render their service with one or more of these organizations, to partner with us in advancing the work that we are doing so we could continue to show the fruitful results we do show now within maybe a more reasonable period of time. Things move slowly when you are not sure of where the turns and the twists are. And the Foundation have had this and their own share of this. Back then, when I made that appeal, the conference spoke to reparations. Today, this conference, the 12th edition of this conference, will speak to reparations. That 9th conference continued to go on and speak about Baliso. And in this 12th edition of the conference, you will hear once more about Baliso. Only we would be receiving what we hear with smiles because something good has happened for us to smile. But for persons like me, the work has just begun. As always, the International Garifuna Conference brings us the opportunity to collect information and discuss ideas that we could and would use to advance our work, as well as to have material at our fingertips that we, all of us, could go to a resource center or wherever, website, whatever, and get resources and information that will assist us with the upgrade, get the knowledge and the advancement, get the understanding of the history and the culture of the Garifuna people. You know, sometimes people walk up to me on the street, Daki, you ever talk to Chatoyer? It says that there is a level of ignorance and lack of knowledge still pervading the country. And yes, we have to deal with it, and we have to try and bring those persons up to scratch. I said I would be brief, and I have just given you a background into what we are aiming to do, what we have to meet with, and how we get over those hurdles. Getting over those hurdles have been painfully slow as far as I am concerned. But then, when things like Baliso happen, when we see things like the children who just sang the anthem in the Garifuna language, then we know that the work cannot be simplified, and we are making some progress. With that little background then, let me welcome you to this 12th edition of the Garifuna International Garifuna Conference. And we hope the conference will provide you with some of the understanding that you may not have been able to grasp. We hope that this conference would do that and advance the thinking of those who have an understanding of what is supposed to be happening with our history, with our culture, with our lives as Vincentians. So welcome, welcome, welcome to IGC number 12. Thank you.
Thank you, Daki. Our theme, Embracing Our Legacy, Strategies for Constructing the Garifuna Component of a 2030 Indigenous Peoples Development Plan. We at the Garifuna Heritage Foundation could not have been carrying out this over the years, this conference, without the collaboration of our key partner, the University of the West Indies Global Campus St. Vincent site. It has been a journey of growth for both of us. And we are very pleased with the collaboration that we have had to date. And we look forward to continuing collaboration with the University of the West Indies Global Campus St. Vincent site over the next couple of years as we watch our conference and our process grow from strength to strength. With us this afternoon is the head of site, Dr. Risa Noel McBonnet, who will bring remarks on behalf of the site. Thank you. Please welcome her warmly.
Honorable Curtis King, Minister of Education and National Reconciliation, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism, Civil Aviation, Sustainable Development and Culture, Dr. Tamira Brown, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Professor Federico Lenzirini, my apologies, Professor, International Law Expert, University of Siena, Italy. Esteemed members of the Garifuna Heritage Foundation, distinguished guests, our Garifuna brothers and sisters of the visiting delegation, welcome home. Media, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. The University of the West Indies Global Campus, St. Vincent and the Grenadines is demonstrating its commitment to history, culture, and scholarship by actively supporting the Garifuna Heritage Foundation of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the execution of the 12th International Garifuna Conference. We have provided, for example, this space and the decor, I hope you like, free of cost. We have provided technical assistance and other various forms of support. The University of the West Indies on a whole, as an institution with global networks and a distinguished reputation, provides a powerful platform to support the work of the Garifuna Heritage Foundation. This partnership is especially significant as the conference's aims resonate deeply with the university's academic pursuits, particularly in the areas of scholarly research and publications in reparatory justice and indigenous communities, as exemplified by the One UWI Research Cluster on Reparatory Justice, the Research Cluster for Indigenous Peoples, among other initiatives. The conference provides a vital space for critical discourse and the sharing of knowledge, contributing to a deeper understanding of Garifuna history, culture, and contemporary issues. In addition, the conference space provides a unique and invaluable opportunity to amplify Garifuna voices, ensuring that their perspectives are not only heard, but also valued and integrated into the academic landscape. At the UWI Global Campus St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we recognize that education and awareness are key to fostering understanding, respect, and appreciation for this unique cultural heritage. As such, the Garifuna Heritage Foundation deserves highest commendation for its proactive efforts in engaging the youth for the preservation and continuation of the Garifuna culture. Fostering an understanding and appreciation of Garifuna culture in the next generation is paramount to its continued vibrancy and survival. Looking ahead, a valuable contribution to the field of scholarly research would be the compilation and publication of conference papers in a single accessible collection, further solidifying the research and insights shared, if this has not already been done. While the conference represents a significant step forward, continued efforts are crucial in sensitizing the wider populace on the rich and complex local history of the Garifuna people, a task where the UWI Global Campus, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, through the UWI's accredited status and global networks, can play a pivotal role. In closing, I wish to reaffirm the commitment of the University of the West Indies Global Campus, St. Vincent and the Grenadines to supporting the Garifuna Heritage Foundation in their vital work, and look forward to a successful and impactful conference. Let us bear this in mind. The 12th International Garifuna Conference is not merely an event, it is a platform for preserving, celebrating, and advancing the rich cultural heritage of the Garifuna people. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Madam Dr. Head of Site, Dr. Risa Noel McBonnet. We are very pleased to be continuing this partnership. We have a cultural item from the children of the C.W. Prescott Primary School. While they are getting ready, they are anxiously waiting outside. I know I saw them there. I would like to have a call from the different delegations that are here. Can you say what countries you are from? The Garifuna delegation. I know Guatemala is represented. What other country we have? Country of Belize. Yes, Belize. Guatemala. Any Honduranians?
Yes, Guatemala here. love, yeah. So, yeah, love and greetings to everyone. We're here from Livingston, Guatemala. Here, there's a few of us here. You guys want to stand up? Yeah, stand up, stand up. So, we're back to Urume after 228 years. Yes. And, well, yeah. So this is homecoming for us. Yeah. We're here again to represent Guatemala and the Garifuna, and we are here to break bread with our ancestors. We're here for pilgrimage, right? So I guess we have, you want to say something, Sister Gloria? Yeah, okay. Here is Sister Gloria. She has something, a word to say here.
Gloria Núñez Niri, Gundana Yana Homa San Vincent, La Bugana Nogoy, Guatemala.
Clara Gamboa, representing La Buga, Livingstone, Guatemala.
Celeste Rojas, from La Buga, Gundet Nanahalaya.
Well, it seems like we have a big Guatemalan delegation this year. Yes, give them a good round of applause.
Claudia Palacio Nire, Balisina Nogoya, Garifuna Balisigia, Paini Nagera, Lida Balisi.
Belizean, Sereme.
Biti Rababoy, Angela Palacio Niribe, Balisige, Barangoge, the southernmost village in Belize. Greetings and love.
Thank you, Sister Angela. So we have a wonderful delegation, and they arrived on Sunday and one last night. Sister Gloria. But, okay, so I think the children are ready. Teacher from the C.W. Prescott School? Yes.
Hale ya di busa na mule mege no motibo. Hale ya di busa na mule mege no motibo. Hale ya di busa na mule mege no motibo. Hale ya di busa na mule mege no motibo. Luba mongo luba waria, daya bawa. Luba mongo luba waria, daya bawa. Luba mongo luba waria, daya bawa. Luba mongo luba waria.
Well done. Well done. Give them another round of applause. And give our teachers, our teacher from the C.W. Prescott, please give her a round of applause. These children, our partnership with the Ministry of Education is one of our more important partnerships because the children are the future. And the children have shown that they are open, they are willing, they want to be part of this process. So it is up to us, the adults, to give them that support and that leadership. We would now like to invite, on that note, the Minister of Education, the Honorable Curtis King, to bring remarks.
Thank you very much, Peter. President of the Garifuna Heritage Foundation, Mr. David Darky Williams, Dr. Risa Noel Backmarnet, the local head of the Global Campus, Permanent Secretary from the Ministry of Tourism, and she is representing my colleague Minister Carlos James. I do make an apology for his absence, but his PS will be speaking on his behalf this afternoon. Professor Federico Lenzarini, who is our feature speaker this afternoon. I saw somewhere my sister from the Embassy of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, other distinguished guests, members of the various delegations, ladies and gentlemen, students, members of the media, a pleasant good afternoon. Well, I sat there as the Minister of Education, and you could have seen I was beaming throughout the presentation from the children. It felt good. And I was saying to myself, who wants to listen to any more remarks after the children's presentation? Put your hands together once again for our wonderful school children. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, and a warm welcome to each and every one of you. It is an honor to stand before you today at this prestigious gathering of scholars, advocates, educators, and individuals. Your presence here, and of course those following online, indicates that you are deeply committed to preserving and celebrating the rich culture, history, and legacy of the Garifuna people. First, let me extend my sincerest gratitude to the host of this conference, the Garifuna Heritage Foundation of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I sat there and I couldn't help but extending gratitude to this organization for its commitment to and consistent efforts aimed at the preservation of our unique cultural identity. Your advocacy for the recognition and acceptance of the Garifuna legacy and your leadership have been pivotal in bringing the culture of the Garifuna people into the national consciousness here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and across the Caribbean. Your commitment to the cultural retention and empowerment of the Garifuna people cannot be overstated. You have been instrumental in advocating for our history to be acknowledged and celebrated in our schools, in our communities, and across generations. Your efforts to promote understanding, unity, and pride among our Garifuna descendants in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and across the globe are a testament to your dedication to the betterment of all of our people. And we should give them a round of applause. Today, as we embark on the theme of embracing our legacy, strategies to constructing the Garifuna component of a 2030 Indigenous Peoples Development Plan, we are reminded of the resilience and determination that has passed down through generations of Garifuna ancestors. From their forced exile after the Second War with Great Britain, to their survival on the island of Baliso, to their eventual resettlement across Central America, the Garifuna people have endured tremendous hardship. Yet, they have never forgotten from whence they came. The Garifuna journey is therefore a story of strength, survival, and the preservation of a culture in the face of great adversity. That is why, as we move forward, it is critical that we continue to build upon this legacy, not only in memory, but through action. I am therefore very honored to be associated with the recent acquisition of Baliso Island by our government, the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It is a monumental step in acknowledging the historical significance of this land and its importance to the Garifuna people. Moreover, it is our collective responsibility to ensure that this land is preserved as a shrine, as a sacred place of remembrance, rather than being developed for private gain. Our leadership in ensuring that Baliso is safeguarded is a clear indication of our government's commitment to the Garifuna people. But this is just one chapter in the larger narrative. The 2030 Indigenous Peoples Development Plan offers us an incredible opportunity to further strengthen the position of the Garifuna people, not only in their own communities, but in the broader context of Central America, the Caribbean, and the world. This 12th International Garifuna Conference, therefore, provides us with yet another opportunity to explore and share strategies, research, and ideas that will guide the way forward. As we discuss how best to integrate the Garifuna legacy into future development plans, we must ensure that the voices of the Garifuna people remain at the center of these discussions. The preservation of our traditions, our art, and our identity must be prioritized as we chart a path towards a future where our people, wherever they are located, must be thriving, united, and proud. Let us continue, therefore, to embrace our legacy, not just in remembrance, but in our daily lives and in the development of a more inclusive and just society. Together, we can ensure that the Garifuna people not only survive, but flourish in the 21st century and beyond. We are but just a few days away from the celebration of National Heroes Day here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I therefore want to invite our visiting delegation of Garifuna people and visitors to join us in the celebration of the life and times of our sole national hero, His Excellency Joseph Chatier. Our national hero, our Joseph Chatier, was a Garifuna whose leadership during the epic struggle with the British colonizers served as an inspiration to our people and a reminder that we might be small, but our footprint large, as eloquently expressed in song by a little calypsonian by the name of Little Chris. As I end, I feel personal triumph in the sense that as a youth advocate for National Heroes Day to be introduced in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, I feel proud because that organization, the National Youth Organization of which I was a part, was strident in its campaign for Joseph Chatier to be declared first national hero. I feel proud because part of our discourse for over those many years was that Baliso should be part of the national patrimony and it should remain a shrine for the Garifuna people. I feel real happy to be around and to be part of the government that has acquired this sacred land of our people. And there's one other wish I hope I would be around to celebrate. Because we always talk about that. But we do believe that the time has come for us to celebrate other national heroes. And I believe that too will be achieved soon. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for having me. And I look forward to a very productive and inspiring conference. And I'm sure the partnership between the Ministry of Education and National Reconciliation and the Garifuna Heritage Foundation would continue, and that out of the process, we will one day have the language of the Garifuna taught in our schools. Thank you very much, and once again, have a most productive conference.
Thank you, Minister Curtis King. We have many days, the next 2 days, over which we will discuss, and hopefully the minister will be with us over that time to have these deep conversations about why we are here at this time. I am very pleased to invite the representative of the Ministry of the Minister of Tourism, Civil Aviation, Sustainable Development and Culture, the Permanent Secretary, newly minted, Dr. Tamira Brown, to the podium to bring remarks on behalf of the Minister. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Mrs. Zoila Ellis Brown, and I am really delighted to be here this afternoon for several reasons. I have long been a part of the wreath laying ceremony on March 14th every year. I would take contingents of Girl Guides, Brownie Guides, Ranger Guides to the obelisk, and there I would ignite something in them that makes them want to learn more about the Garifuna heritage and culture. And I always wanted to be a part of the Garifuna conference, but I never had the opportunity to be a part before now. So I want to say thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of the Garifuna conference, not just the opening session here and now, but also to be a part of something that I've always wanted to be involved in. Excellencies, distinguished guests, esteemed educators, cultural custodians, delegations from across Garifuna organizations, members of the Department of Culture, media representatives, and indeed the local Garifuna community, good afternoon. I bring remarks on behalf of the Minister of Tourism, Civil Aviation, Sustainable Development, and Culture, who unfortunately is regrettably absent from this evening's proceedings. Nonetheless, he wanted to ensure that there was a high level of representation and that at some point during the conference, he would be with you for the discussions. It is a profound honor to address this gathering at the 12th International Garifuna Conference, a space dedicated to deepening our understanding of Garifuna heritage and shaping the future of our indigenous history. This year's theme, embracing our legacy, strategies for constructing the Garifuna component of the 2030 Indigenous Peoples Development Plan, is both timely and urgent. It calls on us not only to honor the past, but really for us to forge a future that ensures the continued survival and the continued flourishing of the Garifuna culture, identity, and traditions. And I'd like to reiterate what Minister King mentioned about being so beaming with pride when we saw the students actually participating in this afternoon's conference. I think it is important for us to really applaud their efforts and the efforts of the teachers who try to keep culture alive in this way. St. Vincent and the Grenadines holds a sacred place in the Garifuna story. It is home. It is the ancestral home. It is here that the journey of living, resistance, survival, and resilience began. It is here that the legacy was written in our very landscapes. It is here today that we are reaffirming our commitment to preserving and elevating the heritage of the Garifuna. One of the most significant steps taken by the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and I'm sure we've come across it in the last weeks, and especially as it was mentioned before, was the fact that we have added Baliso as a part of our local patrimony, a site that has profound historical and emotional significance to the Garifuna people. Baliso stands as a solemn reminder of the sacrifices made by our ancestors. And it's important that our next generation, and even the current, understand and appreciate in its full context what Baliso signifies. It was a place of immense suffering before our Garifuna ancestors were exiled. By securing this land as a natural part of our heritage, we are ensuring the history of our Garifuna people is permanently acknowledged, honored, and safeguarded for future generations. But I must say that is not the end of our work. It's perhaps just a part of the beginning or continuation of the story. The Garifuna component of the 2030 Indigenous Peoples Development Plan must be one that actively integrates history with sustainable development. And it must continue to prioritize, one, cultural education and awareness. And I've told you before about the many times I've visited or gone to the wreath laying ceremony, and we know that this is always a theme that comes up about the integration of this aspect of our cultural heritage in the curriculum, and we must see it more and more across the length and breadth of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The summer programs too, that I'm quite aware of, those are programs that must continue because it must be progressively evident that we are strong and serious about preserving our heritage. Also, we have to give consideration for heritage, tourism, and empowerment. I think that one of the major aspects of this cultural heritage that we speak about, or the heritage tourism, is the preservation of this heritage and to ensure that sustainably through our cultural and educational awareness programs and through persons visiting the ancestral home, they are given the information that they need in order to keep the right story going. We know on social media and several social platforms, it is quite easy for there to be misrepresentation of the history as we know it. And it's important for us to preserve that, not only for our future generations, but also for our heritage tourism. From the government's perspective, the relevant policy support and international advocacy must be done, ensuring that the Garifuna experience is recognized not only at the national level, but also in regional and global discussions on indigenous rights and cultural heritage preservation. At the level of the CELAC, when St. Vincent and the Grenadines held the pro tempore presidency, this was actively on the agenda, and we must ensure that continued support is given to advocating within regional and international organizations for the preservation, the protection of our Garifuna heritage. Community engagement and participation. I remember growing up, there was never an opportunity for me to benefit from Garifuna language programs. There was never an opportunity for me to benefit from Garifuna or traditional dance programs. But now I smile even more when I see my nieces and nephews being given that opportunity to interact and engage with Garifuna culture from such a young age by virtue of the community programs that are put on. And I want to encourage all stakeholders. The University of the West Indies is definitely doing its part in partnering for the continuation of programs that help in building out the Garifuna heritage and education programs. And we want to encourage all stakeholders in education, in culture, to do their part for the longevity of the protection of our cultural assets and our cultural heritage. As we embark on the decade of Indigenous development, We must embrace a collective and strategic approach, one that respects tradition while leveraging innovation to secure the legacy of the Garifuna people. The acquisition of Baliso is a cornerstone in this process, but it is only the beginning. True justice for the Garifuna legacy lies in how we integrate their history into national consciousness of Vincentians and the diaspora at large. True justice also lies in the policy frameworks that our government continue to support. True justice lies in the continual opportunities for empowerment of our peoples through an understanding and appreciation for the Garifuna heritage. So on behalf of the Minister of Tourism, Civil Aviation, Sustainable Development and Culture, the Honorable Carlos James, I want to extend my deepest appreciation for this forum. It is very important in grounding what we know as an important part of our cultural heritage. I want to express deepest appreciation to all those who continue to advocate for the recognition and preservation of the Garifuna heritage. May this conference inspire meaningful action, and I want to reiterate, meaningful action, and reinforce our shared commitment for embracing and advancing the Garifuna legacy as an integral part of national and regional development. I wish us all the best, and I hope that I can join many of the sessions so that together we can learn and together we can inspire everyone for preserving this very important heritage of ours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Brown. I'm sure the Ministry of Tourism, Civil Aviation, Sustainable Development and Culture will be in good hands now that we have a very competent permanent secretary on the lead. I would like to introduce our next speaker, who will introduce the keynote. However, before she does that, I must say that this keynote, Dr. Federico Lenzerini, which is not on the bio she's going to read, but I'm going to so express it, is a gentleman who we reached out to about 2 years ago from the Garifuna Heritage Foundation. And when you hear his bio, it's very impressive. But he responded quickly, and we are very honored that he did so, because he is the chairperson of our Garifuna Reparations Working Group. And I feel that his work must be a labor of love, because we cannot pay him for all the work he's going to do for us in advance. Thank you, Dr. Lenzerini. Let me call on Ms. Sharon Garraway, the Marketing Officer for the UWI Global Campus St. Vincent site, to read the bio for Dr. Federico Lenzerini.
I'm going to do two things. Number one, I wouldn't be a marketing person if I didn't do this. Right, Dexter Rose? That's number one. Number two, she forgot to say that he's also brains and handsomeness, brawn. That wasn't on the bio, but we'll put it there. Buti Rabon Rio, Bon Pom Me Rito, Buenos tardes, I try to roll my tongue. Bonjour. Good afternoon. Dr. Federico Lenzarini is an associate professor of international law and human rights at the Department of Political and International Sciences at the University of Siena, Italy. He is also the professor of the LLM program in Intercultural Human Rights at the University of St. Thomas School of Law, Miami, Florida, USA. He's a professor of Tulane Siena Summer School on International Law, Cultural Heritage, and the Arts. He is the director of the Inter-University Center for Research on Human Rights and Immigration Law, a member of the disciplinary board of the University of Siena, so naughty persons, no naughty behavior, representative of the University of Siena at the Italian Network of Universities for Peace, delegate of the rector of the University of Siena for the project Just Peace, referee of the University of Siena UNHCR's manifesto on the Inclusive University for Refugees, member of the Commission of Research of the University of Siena and delegate of the Department of Political and International Sciences of the University of Siena for Research, Quality of Research, and the Third Mission. Going on. Professor Lenzarini has been a consultant to UNESCO Paris and consul to the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs for international negotiations related to cultural heritage. He was the rapporteur of the International Law Association, ILA Committee on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples and rapporteur of the ILA Committee on the Implementation of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. This Italian scholar is currently deputy head of the Hawaiian Kingdom's Royal Commission of Inquiry. Our esteemed keynote speaker has been the visiting professor in several foreign universities, including the University of Texas in Austin, the Charles University of Prague, the St. Thomas University School of Law in Miami, the Universities of Wellington and Waikato, Te Prenga in New Zealand, the University of Tulane in New Orleans, the Romanian American University of Bucharest, and the Central European University of Budapest. Professor Lenzarini has been a professor at the Academy of European Law at the European University Institute, FISOL, a member of the editorial committee of the Italian Yearbook of International Law, the Intercultural Human Rights Law Review, and the editorial series Cultural Heritage Law and Policy, Oxford University Press. Ladies and gentlemen, no boys and girls, but youthful in spirit, help me to welcome this esteemed author of 7 published books, 2 monographs, and over 100 academic articles. Start clapping. Professor Lenzarini, come forward. Thank you so much.
Where did you find all this information? Well, it's such an emotional situation. After this presentation, I think the expectation raised very high. But I have to say that mine is definitely a labor of love. But I can guarantee that what I received from the Garifuna people is much more than what I give. And this is something that has already happened to me since I started interacting with indigenous peoples. But first of all, let me thank the Garifuna Heritage Foundation and President Thank you. Thanks so much. So let me start again. I would like to thank the Garifuna Heritage Foundation, President Darky Williams, Zoila, Vanessa, Nanu, Claydonna, who are taking care of me and my family. I have my wife and children with me here in St. Vincent during our stay. And everybody who made this event possible, the University of West Indies, and Honorable Minister of Education, the representative of the Ministry of Tourism. And please forgive me if I forget anybody. In such an emotional atmosphere, I could easily forget my name. So please forgive me. So I was saying that it's a huge honor for me to be here as keynote speaker, and it is also even a bigger honor to be the chair of the Garifuna Reparations Working Group. This is something which is a peak of my professional and personal life. You know, in my work as an academic, especially in events like this one, we are used to do a lot of talking. And when we are at a conference, the main purpose is to try to say something intelligent and to prevaricate the other speakers through trying to say something that is more intelligent than what they say. So we do a lot of talking. But when I started interacting with indigenous peoples, I realized that talking is not so important in the end. What is much more important is listening. Listening to the people, listening to the nature, listening to everything this beautiful world can bring to us. It's something that I slowly learned, and I think this made me a wiser person, a more spiritual person, in a word, a better person. You know, usually as a professor, I try to bring good talks to the students and to the people with whom I interact. But I have learned that good talks are brought by the nature, are brought by the wind, are brought by the waves, which gently caress the sand on the beach, are brought by the smiling faces of people, especially those people like indigenous peoples who are able to interact with life in a gently way, not like us in the West, that we try to keep everything for us at the detriment of the others. So when you listen to indigenous peoples, you become slowly, very slowly, because it's not easy to learn, but you become able to hear the good thoughts brought by the wind, brought by the waves. And it's like when you are in front of a beautiful sunrise, full of colors, and you hear these beautiful voices that bring you what is beautiful in this life and in this world, not forgetting the connection with the spirits and our spiritual origin. But then, there is another element which is important to remember. When you listen to indigenous peoples, you cannot help listening also stories of prevarication, of suffering, of wrongs that occurred in the past. This is unfortunately a common story for all indigenous peoples around the world, including the Garifuna people here in Central America. And something changes, no? I mean, the wind is not so gentle anymore. You hear the wind hiss loudly through the trees, and the waves that slap the rocks loudly as well on the beach, to bring you the voice of the deep wounds that indigenous peoples have in their body and the spirit. Wounds that cannot be healed simply with the passing of generation, because we know very well that the wrongs suffered by indigenous peoples have an intergenerational character. So they are transmitted from generation to generation. And this is very important, not only under an ethical and philosophical point of view, but also according to a legal perspective, because this is the main argument which arguably will allow us to bring upon a program of reparations for the Garifuna people, for the wrongs suffered in the past. And I mean, I think that behind my choice of dealing with reparations for indigenous people since the beginning of my academic career, there is a sense of guilt for belonging to the people who were responsible of these wrongs, the Western people, the wrongs suffered by indigenous peoples throughout history. And these wrongs claim reparations. They claim reparations as a means to reestablish justice and the good order of existence, to reestablish the harmony that indigenous peoples in general and the Garifuna people in particular have with their motherland, with nature, and to give back to this people, to your people, the sense of dignity that was stolen due to the huge wrongs that you suffered in the past. It is not a matter of money, as you know much better than me. It is a matter of restoring a concept that is particularly precious for me, the circle of life, no? As it is intended in the holistic concept of life of indigenous peoples. When I talk to my students at my home university, I'm used to tell them that the concept of the circle of life was not invented by the movie The Lion King, okay? They took it from indigenous peoples because it is a very ancient concept that characterizes the life of all indigenous communities around the world. And it is a matter of restoring the relationship of indigenous peoples with their motherland, with the environment to which they belong, the culture, the spirituality, the cosmology, and the very identity of an indigenous community. For indigenous peoples, reparations for past wrongs, especially those related to their ancestral lands, represents an essential process for cultural healing and recovery of their own cultural identity and distinctiveness, as well as for the protection of the human rights of the community concerned and of its members. And this is true for indigenous peoples in general and for the Garifuna people in particular. In order to be effective, a reparatory process must be responsive to the specific needs of the indigenous communities concerned and translate into concrete measures which are perceived by the members of the community as being actually capable of concretely restoring and resolving the anguish they have been and they are still experiencing as a consequence of their own suffering in the past. And I would go back to the argument of the intergenerational effects of past wrongs, which again is very important because it would allow us to overcome a legal argument which is very commonly used to deny a right to reparation for past wrongs, which is the theory of intertemporal law, according to which a wrong cannot be repaired if it was committed when that kind of action was not prohibited by law. And even though indigenous peoples were suffering indicible wrongs in time where international law did not provide any kind of protection for them, what is important is that the effects of this wrong are still perceived today. Now, as you know, in October 2023, the Garifuna Heritage Foundation established the Garifuna Reparations Working Group. Without observing that, as they told you, and I reiterated, I am the chair of this working group. And the purpose of the Garifuna Reparations Working Group is to investigate the perspectives of reparations and to develop a reparations agenda for the Garifuna indigenous people. Today spread in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and in different countries of Central America, particularly Belize, Honduras, Guatemala, and Nicaragua. Consistently, the ultimate target of the work of the working group will be to create the conditions for the definition and concrete realization of a reparatory process to the benefit of the Garifuna indigenous peoples, either in the context of the 10-point plan presented in 2013 by the CARICOM Reparations Commission, or through different autonomous avenues aimed at allowing the Garifuna people to obtain appropriate redress for their wrong suffering in the past. The Garifuna Reparation Working Group will have a number of roles and responsibilities, in particular to conduct a comprehensive and thorough study into the cultural identification of the Garifuna indigenous people, to conduct relevant research and release a study of the impact of the colonial experience on the Garifuna and Kalinago people today, including research on the identification of Garifuna heritage and ancestral lands. The working group should also provide recommendations to the Garifuna and Kalinago communities, as well as to relevant authorities in the states concerned and including CARICOM on reparative justice solutions for the Garifuna people. The working group has the purpose to engage the Garifuna and Kalinago communities throughout the process to include input from lived experience and to provide accountability to the community. Finally, the working group has the purpose to determine the conditions for the Garifuna and Kalinago communities and other interested parties to obtain appropriate redress for the wrong suffered in the past. So all the work will be concentrated on this ultimate goal to be achieved by the working group in cooperation with many other actors, all the actors interested in the process. The work of the working group is now in progress and is being divided into different phases, beginning with the anthropological and cultural identification of the Garifuna indigenous people, an assessment of the history of the Garifuna indigenous people, the geographical identification of the members of the Garifuna people, the identification of Garifuna heritage and ancestral lands, the historical reconstruction and categorization of the wrongs suffered by the Garifuna indigenous people in the past, the identification of the effects produced today by past wrongs, the identification of the forms and kinds of reparations needed by the Garifuna people, the reconstruction of relevant law and practice of reparations for indigenous peoples to be positively used by the Garifuna people, the development of a reparation strategy for the Garifuna people, the formulation of concrete reparation requests, public dissemination of the work of the working group, and in particular its final report. And last but not least, the establishment of contacts with governments, regional organizations, and any other relevant actors with the purpose of starting negotiations aimed at obtaining appropriate reparations. All these phases involve the participation of communities, because the most important element of the work of the working group is to understand what the communities really need for their life. Now, everything will be done trying to use the law in force at the national, regional, and international level. Fortunately, we can say today that our work will be based on a sound legal basis, thanks to the positive development and evolution of the rights of indigenous peoples at the international level. I could list a number of instruments and provisions, but that would be very boring for you. And especially we are supposed to discuss about this issue at tomorrow's session, no? So I would skip this part, but I want to reiterate that what it is really necessary is that any kind of measure of reparation is structured in a way to respond to the specific needs of the Garifuna communities. And this is particularly important, as I have reiterated several times. So we will try in particular to maximize the involvement of the communities in order to establish the specific means of reparations that they need, starting from monetary compensation, which is not the priority maybe, but it's important in order to allow the community to feel the disadvantage they have with other people and to allow the progress of their cultural and communal life. But then particular emphasis will be placed on symbolic reparations that, in the experience of international law on indigenous peoples, have proved to be very important to restore the relationship of indigenous peoples with the world where they live. So recognition of the wrong, disclosure of truth, apology, psychosocial reparations for those who need them, and so on. What strategies will be adopted or can be adopted by the working group? First of all, it is necessary, and I see that we are already doing that today in this conference, to deeply involve and sensibilize the society at large at the national and international level. It is particularly important to foster a new social conscience as to the need to make amends from the mistakes of the past. I have the intention to return on this point, but this is one of the most formidable obstacles to overcome, because today not many people are willing to recognize that in the past mistakes occurred. But in reality, mistakes are part of the human nature. So if we would recognize that we make mistakes, it would be easier to accept and to concur with the need of repairing indigenous peoples for the torture suffered in the past. It is necessary to establish clearly the forms of reparation pursued and to adopt a flexible approach, starting with a cooperative approach and relying on litigation only as the ultimate means when it is absolutely necessary. We can recur to alternative methods or processes, for instance, political initiatives by NGOs, self-reparation, and so on. We will try to claim a variety of reparatory measures on an alternative or cumulative basis. We will rely on rules of human rights and other generally accepted principles of law. And again, we will ensure that the communities will be adequately involved in all phases of the process. So, to conclude, the discourse of reparations for indigenous peoples in general, and for the Garifuna people in particular, more than a legal issue, is a philosophical and social problem. What is difficult to us is to accept the idea that guilt is an inevitable feature of human life. What we would like to do is to forget the past forever, no? To bury our misdeeds. But what happened in the past leaves tracks in our life, and not only and especially in our life, but in the life of others. And it is something that is not possible to eliminate. Sooner or later, the ghost of past wrongs will rise from their graves and will force us to confront an unwelcome reality. So the first step to be accomplished is to persuade our interlocutors that there is nothing wrong with recognizing the torts occurred in the past, and that the need of restoring those wrongs is not just for the indigenous communities directly hit by them, but for the society as a whole. It is indispensable to ensure the harmony and the good living of the society. A stable world cannot exist without justice. It is an indisputable axiom that justice definitely includes the need to make good for the torts inflicted on indigenous peoples in general and the Garifuna people in particular in the past centuries. The recognition and realization of the right to reparation for the Garifuna people translates in practice to no more than allowing them to regain control of their lives and their lands, their environment, their culture, their spirituality, their cosmology, and their identity. And this would not destabilize any state, would not destabilize any other component of the society. On the contrary, it would provide great assistance in the realization, in a stable manner, of a fairer society and a more serene social environment, which in the long run is favorable to everybody, indigenous or not, Garifuna or not. Sereme.
Well, thank you, Professor Lenzerini. Please give him another round of applause. In the next 2 days, in particular tomorrow, we will be having deepening conversations on what Professor Lenzerini started this afternoon. We have with us one of our speakers, Dr. Marcus Goff. Please stand, Dr. Goff, so you can, from Jamaica, a lawyer who is going to be involved in the debate tomorrow. And we will be he has done work in this area, and we will be deepening our conversation on all aspects of reparation. This is a deep and important topic, and it is not for the faint-hearted, but we are determined that it is necessary for the Garifuna people to understand and confront the need for reparations, because what happened to the Garifuna was wrong, and it's as simple as that. I now call on Mr. Matthews, our member from our Mr. Matthews, to give the vote of thanks. Following upon the vote of thanks, we will have a break whereby we will be looking forward to the indigenous films, which will be screened right here in this room, commencing at 6 o'clock. Mr. Matthews.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So, first, I'd like to give the Creator God thanks and our ancestors for the opportunity and bringing us here to this wonderful session this afternoon, which is the International Conference. I also want to extend thanks and gratitude to our brothers and sisters in the diaspora who sent online greetings, and for those who traveled all the way to St. Vincent to be here for this session today. A special thanks for the local Garifuna committees, also for the royal delegates who blessed the ceremony today as it opened. Also thanks to the president of the Garifuna Heritage Foundation, Mr. Williams, Honorable Curtis King, Minister of Education, Miss Timera Brown, Permanent Secretary of Tourism, Mrs. Linda Grant, also to Dr. Risa Noel McBarnett, the head of the UE campus here in St. Vincent, for the schools that participated, the C.W. Prescott Primary School and the St. Clair School. Also, we want to give thanks or greetings also to those who participated in the essay competition. Also, special thanks to our sponsors, Vinlec, Bank of SVG, and Building and Loan. To the staff also of the campus, UE campus here, the staff of the Garifuna Heritage Foundation, the moderator, our technical advisor, Mrs. Brown, and a very, very special thanks to our keynote speaker for the session, Professor Federico Lenzerini, who is an international law expert at the University of Siena, Italy, and also the chairperson of our Garifuna reparation community here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Special thanks to everyone who attended today, and I pray that as you follow us for the next coming days, that it would be filling and we would leave with a lot of information. And also I must thank the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines for marking this special moment for the Garifuna community by acquiring Baleso. I mean, it's very close to me. I mean, a little diversion, but you know, it's a bittersweet moment, as I expressed to someone earlier. It's bitter because I can only imagine how the Garifuna people feel or felt enduring the uncertainty of not owning that sacred piece of land. And sweet that I'm actually living in the era where the Garifuna community and the people would have won a significant battle. The land has been reclaimed and it is our land. I am Garifuna.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. And of course, we have to thank the decorators. They did a wonderful job. M's Creations. A shout out to M's Creations for these wonderful decorations. Ladies and gentlemen, we now have a break until 6 when we have our screening of the movie Yurume. And so you can mingle, feel free to make new friends, reconnect with old ones, and generally be prepared for 2 more days of exciting discussion.